Hi everyone, Andrew Ambrosius, and welcome back to the Art of Business English. Now, today I've got an interesting top tips to help you independently study business English. That is today's episode. Now, it is, a new year. It is January of 2018, and with most New Years, we start our year, with a bit of promise and desire to achieve new things, and we often set New Year's resolutions, propósitos del año, okay? So what I'm going to share with you today are 5 tips to help you hopefully stay motivated and to be able to learn and improve your English quite independently, okay? 4 of the tips are quite independent. The 5th tip. Hi everyone, Andrew Ambrosius, and welcome back to the Art of Business English. Now, today I've got an interesting top tips to help you independently study business English. That is today's episode. Now, it is, a new year. It is January of 2018, and with most New Years, we start our year, with a bit of promise and desire to achieve new things, and we often set New Year's resolutions, propósitos del año, okay? So what I'm going to share with you today are 5 tips to help you hopefully stay motivated and to be able to learn and improve your English quite independently, okay? 4 of the tips are quite independent. The 5th tip is, it will require a little bit of help from a trainer. So let's have a look then today. What we're going to cover today in this episode is basically five steps or 5 tips. The first one is how to set your vision, okay? The right vision. What do we mean by vision? Well, I'm going to go into more detail about that. But it's important that we have the correct vision, and without that, really, we don't really have a strong guide, a strong reason for why we are doing what we're doing, okay? Now, we don't want to get demotivated. I mean, that's what generally happens. We make excuses. We start off with, lots of motivation and lots of desire to improve or to achieve the task we set at the start of the year. But then if we don't have the correct vision, we can become very demotivated, start making excuses, and eventually stop doing what it is that we set out to do. In the second one, we're going to be looking at goal setting and how we can reach our objectives. If you are a business person, if you are an entrepreneur, if you're someone like me, then you're highly motivated, and to stay highly motivated, you need to set goals. I'm always trying to set myself goals so that I, have something to work towards and have this purpose and meaning to what it is that I'm trying to do and achieve. If you're learning a language, you definitely need a study plan, and that's part 3. We'll be looking at study plans in part 3. It's very simple, okay? And then in part 4, I want you guys to appreciate the power of reading, okay? Many people don't read enough, and it's one great easy skill that, in my opinion, is highly underutilized, okay? People need to read more, and it's great. It can be done very independently, and it's a wonderful way to improve your English. And in the 5th point, I want you guys to understand the power of the translation methodology. I mean, we can use translations to improve our business English. I'm a huge fan of it. I do it a lot with my students, okay? So we will be looking at that in the last part of today's episode. So let's have a look then at the 5 top tips for studying and improving your English independently. As I mentioned earlier in the beginning, we're going to look at vision, all right? Okay, if you want to stay motivated, you need to have the correct vision, the correct perspective. I mean, what does this mean? Well, it means that you have to understand that you can't just go to your English class, if you do go, once a week and then do just that, okay? That's not enough. You need to have the correct vision, the correct perspective, and this will give you the reasoning okay, el razonamiento, the reasoning behind why you are trying to achieve something, okay? So, as I said, it's not enough to go to class once a week. You need to do something for the other 6 days, okay? So, if you have vision, then you can stay on point. Stay on point means to stay focused, all right? And, developing your vision is very simple, all right? All you need to do is download the free cheat sheet that I've got on this post. If you are listening to the podcast, then come over to the Art of Business English website and grab a copy. And basically, on this, what we're going to do is we're going to outline all the reasons behind why we are trying to achieve or do what it is that we're setting out to do. In this case, improving our business English. Okay, so download a copy, and when you're filling it out, in the left column, you put the reasons. And then in the second column, you are going to put the pain points or the problems. So, why are you, so the reason is why, okay, why do I want to improve my business trips, okay? Maybe you're having trouble on business trips with your English. So that's the reason. You want to have a better business trip. So then you put the pain points. I'm having trouble checking in and dealing with problems at the airport. For example, if I've lost my luggage, then this is a problem because I can't communicate effectively with the people who are at the lost luggage counter. And so that's a pain point, all right? And then the solution is, if I achieve this goal by studying what language and what type of things I need to say if I leave my luggage, then the outcome or the solution is that I'm more confident in situations at the airport where I have a problem, okay? So there is an example on the cheat sheet. So download a copy and take a look, okay? So remember, these are objectives-based learning, and they're like KPIs, your key performance indicators. If we set objectives for ourselves, hopefully they're measurable objectives, and if they're short-term objectives, then we can achieve them, and then we feel that we're actually progressing and moving forward, okay? So that moves us then onto goal setting. Yeah, all right, that's incredibly important. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business person, you should be quite versed in goal setting, but I'm just going to go over it again now, okay? So it's a critical skill, and it's not just about, learning English. I think that's a problem nowadays with English. People don't appreciate that they need to have a holistic approach to learning. It's about personal development, really, okay? You are trying to improve yourself, okay? You're trying to improve a skill, and personal development is linked well with languages because many people learn languages as another skill to improve their life, okay? Remember, you can only improve your situation in life one of two ways. You can either learn a new skill, which helps you to earn more money, or you can meet new people, which opens you up to more opportunities. So both of those things are going to require good linguistic skills. So in this case, learning English can help you network better, and learning English can help you, sell to overseas customers and help you expand your business internationally. Okay, so my first piece of advice is to basically do a version of The Miracle Morning. I'm not sure if you've read the book The Miracle Morning, but it's quite interesting, and I have my own version of The Miracle Morning, and I wake up 30 minutes or 60 minutes, between 60 minutes and 30 minutes before everyone else in my house. And it's really amazing what you can achieve in 30 minutes, all right? So how is this related to English? Well, it is quite simple, okay? If you wake up 30 minutes before everyone else, you can achieve an incredible amount. It really is amazing. And if you want to be successful, most successful entrepreneurs have a morning routine, okay? And they use this to help them get organized for the day and to surprisingly to keep fit and healthy, okay? So I'm going to just quickly explain to you my morning routine, and this will give you an idea of how it will link to English. Okay, so I wake up at 7. Okay, I wake up at 7 a.m. and I go upstairs and I meditate for 5 minutes. When I say meditate, I'm not like, a Zen meditation master. It really just is sitting down with your legs folded in the yoga meditation position as best as possible, depending on how flexible you are. And then, you're just closing your eyes and focusing on your breathing. Things will come into your mind, and that's fine. I just let them come in and then I let them go. If I think of something important and critical, maybe I'll just note it down in that moment in my diary. Okay, so it doesn't have to be like traditional meditation where your mind is blank and you are completely in a trance. No, I mean, it's just a meditation to prepare your body for the day. Okay, and just get ready for action, ready for battle. Okay, and then that's 5 minutes. Okay, and then what's interesting is that I will do some basic stretching and yoga. Okay, I'll do the sun salutation. I will stretch out my back. Okay, so just really bending over, touching my toes, trying to extend my neck so that it's all the vertebrae start to open up the space between them. Okay, and that really is incredible. It makes you feel very good when you start to really extend all the spaces between the vertebrae in your back. Okay, gets the blood flowing as well. So I just do 10 minutes of yoga and it makes me feel really good. And then I'll get on my mat on my back and do some crunches, like some sit-ups, okay, abdominales, and then I'll roll over, do some push-ups. Maybe I'll do some, in Spanish it's called palanca. It's where you put your weight onto your elbows and forearms, and then you are supporting your body flat, okay, and then you're lifting your arms left or lifting your arms right, and that really is to build strength in your stomach area. Okay, it's good for this middle section. Helps to keep your waist nice and tight. Okay, and then once I've done that, I'm very warmed up, I'm very awake, and I will be reading 3 or 4 pages of my book. So I will read my book for about 5 to 7 or even 10 minutes, depending on the morning, if I've got more time or less time. Okay, and just reading like 3 or 4 pages of your book in the morning, if you do that, I mean, you will burn through books. You will be reading books so fast. And, books are essential. All great business leaders and entrepreneurs read many books a year. Okay, it's incredibly important for you to read because you can learn loads of new things. And you can also do it for joy. And this period, this 5, 7, 10-minute period is when you can substitute reading in your native language for reading in English or doing some English grammar or listening skills or writing skills. In this 10-minute period, you can do your language learning. Okay, so this is where it comes into play. And lastly, I spend about 3 minutes or 5 minutes, depending on the time I've got, to just think about the top 3 things that I want to achieve that day. Okay, maybe not even 3, maybe just 1 thing. Okay, staying very focused on my main top high-level goal for that day. And when you finish those 30 or 40 minutes, you are completely energized. You're ready to go. You've visioned your day, you've planned your day, you've thought about what you want to do, and you've already done some of your English learning. So the power of the miracle morning, or the power of a morning routine or ritual, is great, and it's something that I recommend all of you do. Okay, it is easier than you think to get up 30 minutes before you normally do, or an hour before you normally do. Okay, and the fact that you are starting your day doing some form of exercise, it actually means you're going through the day with more energy than if you sleep until the last minute and then rush out of bed and run around trying to get the kids ready for school, having showers, getting breakfast ready, etc., etc. So totally recommend that, okay? That's how we're going to start our goals, okay? So that's my first recommendation. Set a goal of getting up 30 minutes earlier every day, having a small morning routine, and incorporating your English learning into that routine, okay? Now, I did mention that goals also need to be achievable, okay? And they need to be measurable. So don't set these lofty goals like, I'm going to get my first certificate in 1 year. I mean, if your English level is pre-intermediate or lower intermediate, then to achieve your first certificate in 1 year, it's a measurable goal, because in 1 year, if you've got the first certificate, you've reached that goal. However, it's not very realistic, because you would have to invest a lot of time and study a lot to achieve that objective in 1 year. So you need to set realistic goals. You need to set them on a daily or weekly basis, and they need to be measurable. So if you say, I'm going to read one newspaper article every day for 5 days, that's something that's achievable. It's something that's short term, and it's something that you can measure. At the end of 5 days, just count how many newspaper articles you read, and if you read 5, you've achieved your goal. Okay, very simple. Okay, so that's my that's my recommendation on goal setting. Short term achievable goals that are measurable, okay, and that combined with a little morning routine will be a massive step towards improving your English. Okay, now let's move on to a study plan, because the study plan is really going to be a fundamental part of your morning routine. You will see in the document which you've downloaded, the cheat sheet, okay, on the second half of this document, there is a table, a simple table, which you can fill out, which is your study plan. And then after that table, I have included some resources, okay, some links to some resources. And basically, there are so many resources on the internet. So if you want to search for specific things, just use Google. Google is your friend. But all you need to do is just plan out your learning objectives for the next month, okay, the next 4 weeks on that table. And they're just 10 minutes every day. So after 1 month, you will have the routine completely set in motion, okay? People say, how long does it take for an action to become a routine? And it's about a month, 20 to 30 days, okay? So if you're doing something for 20 to 30 days, then it will become part of your routine. So that's why we plan out the morning routine and the learning objectives and the study plan before we start, okay? We have the 1 month plan in place. We're ready to go. And then it's just a matter of starting, okay, of just waking up. So you will see on the study plan that we just need to identify the skills areas that we want to learn. So we can do some listening one day, we can do some writing another day, we can read a lot, okay, independently. It's very easy to read. We can look at vocabulary in context and make vocabulary lists based on contextual situations. We can listen to the Art of Business English podcasts. Those are better though in the car when you're driving to work, okay? So there are many things that we can put into our study plan, okay? There are lots of resources there. If you need more, please get in touch. We're happy to develop material for people. We love to hear about what you're having problems with, because then we're able to develop specific material for those situations, okay? Now, as I mentioned, the next step is reading, okay? We need to read a lot, and I've said that many times, and I say it a lot to my students all the time. The problem is people, they don't read enough, okay? Most people don't read even in their native language enough. But, with modern technology, mobile phones, newspaper apps, things like that, now we have access to an infinite amount of things that we can read. However, one of my great recommendations is that reading is fun, and reading is something that you should enjoy, okay? So don't go reading, a massive novel in English. You need to start simply. And what I find is a great way to start by reading and enjoying is finding a topic you're interested in. If it's photography, interior design, I don't know, sports, running, mountain biking, sailing, um, cooking, anything, whatever your topic, gardening, whatever your topic is, whatever you like doing, you should find an English magazine, una revista in English, related to that topic and buy a 12-month subscription. Okay, normally they're like about 50 or 60 euros or dollars a year, so not that expensive. And by doing that, you're going to get sent the magazine every single month. Okay, and the joy of that is you'll have a resource in English. It's something you're interested in, and a magazine is full of articles, and articles generally are short. So you can read one article and then put it down and come back and the next day read another article, okay? With a book, you have to really follow the whole story, A book is quite more in depth. You're reading one chapter, and if you forget to read the book for 2 or 3 days, maybe you forget a lot about what is happening. That can even happen in your native language. But it's even more difficult when you're trying to read in a non-native language. Sometimes you can, forget what's going on, who are the characters, etc., because you're struggling with the level of the book. So my recommendation in the beginning is to start with things like newspaper articles, magazine articles, or little trocitos, little pieces of news. All right. So a magazine article for me is a great way. It's short. There's short articles. You can easily digest the information, and it's something that you like and are interested in. All right. And as well as that, you can do what I often used to do when I was learning to speak Spanish. I would go to the BBC and I would read the top news article from the BBC. Okay, because generally all news outlets, okay, if it's El País or BBC, it doesn't matter. They run the same top news. Okay, so for example, the President of the United States said this, and that's on the BBC, and the same article is on a Spanish-speaking website. So what you can do is you can read the top news article in Spanish first, and then read and look for the same article in the BBC, on the BBC. And because you're reading the same article but in English, and you've previously read it in Spanish, you already have lots of context about what it is that was going on, or what the actual article is about. And that makes it a little bit easier for you to follow the el hilo of the story, okay? The core ideas of what the article is about. So that's another little tip that you can use for your reading skills, okay? And after that, the last one, and this one is what I mentioned earlier about being a little bit more complicated in terms of being independent. But I'm a great believer in using translations as a way to help you work the structure and improve your English. I use translation methodology with a lot of my students, and the only really how can I put this? The only really negative or difficult part about it is that it is best to find a native English-speaking teacher who also speaks Spanish or is bilingual, okay? Why? Firstly, they've had to learn the language, so they understand the differences and the similarities between English and Spanish. Secondly, because you're translating, you as a learner of a language will often try and translate things quite literally. Now, maybe if you don't have a native speaker of English there to correct you, then you'll just be translating things that to a native person would sound strange. Like, oh, that sounds a bit strange. We don't say it like that. Whereas if you have this trainer who can show you the differences and the similarities between the languages, they can say, look, you you've done a literal translation of that, we would say it like this in English, or the word order in a sentence is like this. So it's quite powerful having someone who's bilingual, because they can help you move a lot faster through material. I mean, many people say, oh, you should only speak full immersion, 100% English to a student. And to be fair, that can be very frustrating for a speaker who is learning English with a low level. I mean, they don't understand anything. And, you know, it's much easier to teach someone the grammatical rules and the grammatical foundation of a language if you speak their language as well, okay? You can move through things a lot quicker. So the best way to do translation methodology is to have 20, 30 phrases in Spanish in Spanish, and translate them into English, okay? We have lots of material if you're interested on that, so just let us know through the Facebook page or contact us. And basically, like, the phrases will be, if you're doing la voz pasiva, no, the passive voice, then the translation phrases will be based on the passive voice. And then you can translate them yourselves, get the answers, and then you'll see where you've made mistakes, and you'll see how it's done in English. And then if you're studying independently, obviously you're going to lack a bit of the explanation, but lots of these things are just structure, structure, structure. So once you've learned the structure, it's just like that, okay? That is the structure in English for that specific grammatical rule. So that's my recommendation on the translation methodology. Obviously, when you're dealing with very high levels, like, you know, upper intermediate or advanced students, we use a lot less translation methodology, because once you've reached a higher level of English, you can interpret the meaning of words, you can understand things from context, and you don't need to rely as much on knowing the translation, okay? And that's much more powerful, and things sound better this way than that way. So yeah, obviously for higher levels, it's much better in the just 100% in English. But then once you're at that level, it's much easier to study independently, because you can read a lot more, you can read much more advanced books, you can participate in forums, chat groups, you can easily travel the world and meet new people. So the translation methodology is very powerful, especially for people who are starting out or have a low level. Okay, so that's really it for today then. That's all I wanted to cover. Just some of these 5 top tips to keep you guys motivated in 2018. I highly recommend having a morning routine. I highly recommend developing a study plan. Look at the material or some of the resources that I've included, and just be organized. It just takes 10 minutes a day of an organized study plan for you to improve your English, having realistic, measurable, short-term goals. And once you start achieving those goals, you start to feel good about yourself, and you actually feel that you're making progress towards improving your English. So I hope you all enjoyed this short podcast, and I hope that you got some good ideas from it. I hope you all start your morning routines. I can't encourage you enough for that. And I hope you're having a great start to 2018, and we'll see you all next week on the Art of Business English. As always, if you have any questions, get in touch. You can contact us through Facebook /the AOBE. Okay, it's facebook.com/the AOBE. Or you can email us, aobe@theartofbusinessenglish, and we're more than happy to look at some free coaching sessions just to see if you need what your needs are, or to evaluate you for any online coaching or online training courses if you're interested. If not, have a great one, and we'll see you next week on the Art of Business English. Take care now, and bye for now.